Give David more depth as a character. Instead of just presenting him as a Navy SEAL or a retired military man, you could explore his inner struggles, fears, and memories more intimately. Show how his past haunts him in subtle ways, making him relatable while also demonstrating his strength and determination to protect his family. Build the suspense and tension even more, especially as David begins to uncover Richard's true motivations. You could weave in moments where David starts questioning his own sanity, thinking he's overreacting, only to realize how deep Richard's control is. The slow unraveling of the mystery will keep readers hooked. Make the dialogue more natural and emotionally charged. Allow characters, especially David and Elena, to voice their fears and uncertainties. This can make their relationship feel more real and relatable. Perhaps give Elena a stronger role in confronting the problem as well, so she doesn't just observe, but actively participates in solving the mystery. Heighten the description of key moments. When describing the destruction of David and Elena's home, instead of just detailing what happens, show the emotional impact of those moments. For instance, rather than saying, "They destroyed my military commendations," show the emotional weight behind it. How those medals symbolize his past sacrifices and how their destruction cuts deeply into his sense of identity. Create more emotional stakes for David. As he uncovers Richard's plot, let David wrestle with the moral dilemma of returning to his violent past. This creates a deeper personal conflict, turning what would be an action-driven story into a psychological one as well. Vary the pacing of your narrative. Use slower, more contemplative moments to build tension and reflect on what David has been through, while allowing the action-packed scenes to explode with intensity. This keeps the reader hooked by maintaining a dynamic flow. Weave in more subtle hints throughout the story about David's past life, his military expertise, and what he's capable of. This builds up anticipation so that when David finally unleashes his skills, it's a satisfying and well-anticipated moment. Instead of telling the audience that Richard is dangerous or calculating, show these traits in his actions and interactions with David. Make the reader experience Richard's sinister nature through his manipulation, and let them slowly realize the depth of his obsession with David. Highlight David's internal conflict about violence and his darker side. He might struggle with the need for revenge and the idea of becoming a person he thought he'd left behind. This exploration of personal transformation adds richness to the narrative. Enhance David's emotional depth by focusing more on his internal turmoil. As he digs deeper into Richard's past, let David wrestle with the ghosts of his own, especially the PTSD or moral struggles from his past military experiences. This will make his actions and decisions more relatable and complex. Elena plays a significant role, but you can expand on her emotional transformation. Allow her to show resilience and courage in her own way. This not only strengthens their partnership, but adds layers to their relationship, making the reader more invested. Build anticipation before the HOA meeting by focusing on David's meticulous planning. Instead of simply stating that he prepared, delve deeper into the details of his strategy. Perhaps show him struggling with his decision to confront Richard, emphasizing how much he fears the consequences of the final reveal. This way, when the confrontation finally happens, it feels like a big payoff. Instead of immediately revealing Richard's military background, you can stretch out the discovery, making it more tantalizing. Give subtle clues about Richard's past, such as his unusual behavior, moments when his true nature slips through the cracks, or hints that David picks up on. Then, when the full truth is revealed, it hits harder. Focus on making the dialogue feel more visceral. When David speaks about his past or the betrayal, let the words carry emotional weight. Instead of just revealing facts, let David's tone, body language, and choice of words convey his years of pent-up emotion. For instance, when he reveals his tattoos and military past, he could say something like, "These marks were earned, not given." Every scar has a story, but not all of them are mine to tell. Show Richard's reaction to the confrontation in a more layered way. Maybe his calm facade begins to crack as David speaks, showcasing his true fear. His emotions should vary from anger to fear to desperation, as he realizes his carefully orchestrated plans are about to fall apart. When Carol stands up to reveal the truth, intensify that moment. Instead of just having her shout, perhaps allow her to hesitate, creating a feeling of dread. When she does speak, let it be a mixture of relief and horror. The emotional stakes should be higher for her, because this is a turning point where she could either redeem herself or sink further into betrayal. When David reveals Richard's dishonorable discharge and betrayal, make it a slower burn. Instead of presenting the details immediately, you could build the story through fragmented memories or flashbacks. Let David recount how the betrayal affected him personally, creating a sense of trauma and loss that goes beyond the military breach, perhaps even relating it to his relationships or how it altered his view of trust. Add a flashback sequence to the mission that went wrong, where David personally discovered Richard's betrayal. This can be vivid and haunting, detailing how it impacted him and his fellow soldiers. This would add more emotional depth to the reveal. Build the tension as David enters the HOA meeting. The moment when he sets up the projector should feel like a moment of calculated calm before a storm. Let the room's reaction to the footage be more visceral, with members gasping, whispering, and some even physically reacting to the violence. When David reveals his tattoos, make it more of a statement. Describe his body language and how his presence commands the room. His physical transformation, the rolled-up sleeves, and the tattoo reveal should be timed perfectly with the emotional crescendo of the confrontation. After the video ends and the room is in shock, make David's voice shake with barely contained fury. His decision to expose everything isn't just about revenge. It's about justice and protecting his family. The stakes should be higher, not just for him, but for the entire community, as they begin to understand the ramifications of electing Richard as their president. Once Richard is exposed, show the fallout more clearly. This could involve not only his resignation or removal, but also how the community reacts. Some might stand by him, some might turn against him, creating a morally gray area that makes the reader question the dynamics of power and corruption. Explore David's inner conflict regarding the exposure of his past and the violence he's had to use to protect his family. After everything, make him reflect on how far he's gone and what it means to lose control. Maybe he begins to question if his old self was truly left behind. As Richard begins to lose control, show the desperation and fear behind his attempts to justify his actions. Maybe he tries to manipulate the room one last time, telling them he had no choice, pushing his own version of events. This creates a deeper moral conflict between right and wrong, especially in how people perceive authority. Make David's calm authority even more palpable. As he issues his demands, let his words hang in the air, emphasizing the power and control he has regained. His demeanor should be cold and methodical, showing that he's done more than just prepare for this moment. He's been training for it his entire life. The preparation scene can be expanded, adding detail about David's meticulous planning and the careful steps he takes to ensure survival. Make it feel like a war zone is being prepared. I moved silently through the house, checking every corner, every window. Each room was a potential battleground, and every tool in my workshop was an improvised weapon. There would be no surrender, not tonight. Elevate the action scenes by describing them with more intensity. Focus on David's swift and tactical movements as he takes down each attacker. The first man tripped into the wire, his body snapping to the ground like a rag doll. He didn't even have time to scream before his world went black. Use the environment more creatively to demonstrate David's tactical genius. Make the house and its surroundings feel like extensions of his training and expertise. The garden hose wasn't just a tripwire. It was a carefully crafted snare, a tool I'd used countless times in far more dangerous places. The fire extinguisher wasn't just for fire. It was my shield and my sword in one. Slow the battle down at key moments to create a rhythm between quick, intense actions and moments of pause where David surveys the situation. This adds to the suspense, making the reader feel the weight of each strike and decision. I could hear the heavy footfalls of the men closing in. I had seconds to decide whether to engage or fall back. But there was no retreat now. I was the hunter, and this was my territory. After the fight, show David's physical exhaustion more vividly. The small wound on his shoulder could symbolize the toll of the battle and serve as a reminder of his age and mortality. The pain from the knife wound stabbed at my shoulder, a cruel reminder that I wasn't as young as I used to be. But I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when Elena needed me. Elena's reaction after coming out of the safe room can be amplified. She could be in shock at what she's just witnessed, and her thoughts could race as she processes what her husband just did to protect her. She stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide as she took in the sight of 6 men lying unconscious, bound with the same hands that had once held her in comfort. Her voice trembled as she asked the only question that mattered. David, what have we become? Show that despite the horror, their bond has grown stronger. Elena's fear is tempered by a realization that she, too, is capable of survival. Her voice, though soft, was resolute. We survive together, David. Always. Instead of just mentioning that Richard's hired men were professionals, hint at what he might do next. Leave room for a looming confrontation that goes beyond just physical violence. Richard's desperation would drive him to even darker places. The game was no longer just about survival. It was about ending this nightmare once and for all. Set the stage for the next phase of their struggle, how Richard will respond to this failure. He's lost control, but he's not backing down. David may have won this round, but the psychological war has just begun. This wasn't the end of the fight. It was just the beginning of a battle that would haunt both our lives forever. Thumbs up, like, and subscribe for more. Thumbs up T, Sotriasovka. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video to show your support, Sotriasovka. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update, T, Sotriasovka. Turn on notifications, bell, to stay informed about all our latest content, T, Sotriasovka.